This is the Vapes4Vets podcast brought to you by Namaste Technologies. I'm joined today by two special guests, Dakota Serna and Barry Richardson. How you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us, man.
Hey, not a problem. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and tell us your stories today. So you guys met initially through the Soldiers of the Vine, or did you guys know each other before that?
Actually, me and Barry, it was kind of accident that we met. I was new to the Kalamazoo, Michigan area, and I was out of meds, and so I got pointed in the direction of where some was, and he was there, and we just got to talking, and then we hooked up together, hung out at a festival collecting petitions to legalize cannabis here in Michigan, and we just found out that each other were veterans and had our own struggles, and kind of figured out a way to help other people utilizing that,
Yeah. Quickly thereafter, we became road dogs and just kind of went around together and tried to do things positive, try to do things with the right mindset.
Which states have you guys traveled to together already?
There's quite a few. We've been out to Arlington, Virginia. We did the Drug Policy Alliance. That's where we met the other guys from the Soldiers of the Vine, Ian Benouis and Matt Kale. And yeah, I think we've been down to Kentucky together. We've been kind of all over the place, man. Just
Philadelphia.
if there's been times where brothers have reached out and said, "Hey, I need some help, man," we'll get in the truck and we'll go to them and make sure they're they're okay in the head before we leave.
How do people get in contact with you?
Mainly Facebook. I sometimes go out on a limb and I'll put my personal phone number on Facebook and pages for people who are struggling. So I'll get phone calls anywhere from like 1 to 3, 5 in the morning. Just guys who are hurting and just need somebody to talk to. And Barry has been kind of my go-to guy when I struggle. And yeah, he's really big in helping, kind of behind the scene, but he's really big in helping, saving lives, treating people for cancer, and helping other veterans with medicine when they need it.
Yeah, I really like to help people with plant medicines, and so going down and after we met Matt and Kale, and there was talk of a trip to Peru. It was easy, it was easy because I was already involved in plant medicines and seeing so much success in just cannabis work.
So you guys have done. You were talking about the Soldiers of the Vine. You guys have tried other plant medicines other than cannabis?
Yeah, I've used mushrooms, both microdosing and larger ceremonial doses. Mescaline, ayahuasca, all looking to find inner peace, to be able to put some demons to rest, and I've had a lot of success in that. And when I talk plant medicine, I don't just mean those. I mean my food too, eating healthy, organic, and really watching what I put into my body.
And Dakota, you've tried other things as well?
Yeah, not so much on like a supervised level or anything like that, but I've dabbled in other psychedelics, and then also alongside with the ayahuasca, we also got into some of the like the jungle roots and jungle plants that grow down there and are native in Peru that don't necessarily have psychoactive effects, but they have positive, interactions with the body. They cleanse toxins out. They help heal the joints, and so it was really an eye-opening experience to go through something like that, and especially taking Barry down there, or Barry took me down there actually, and doing it with Ian and Matt, who are some really good guys. Everybody found some healing and was able to take that back to the United States and kind of implement that into their communities back in the states that they live in. And so this has just been a growing mission and a growing family of like-minded people that are just fed up with the pharmaceuticals and are finding alternative and holistic means to heal themselves and their friends.
Yeah, anybody that'll listen, anybody that has the plant calling to them.
I've interviewed both Matt and Ian, and they've told me their experiences with the Soldiers of the Vine, trying various different plant medicines, and I hadn't really known anything about ayahuasca or mushrooms before talking to them, and Matt was suggesting that cannabis is more like a band-aid, but something like ayahuasca is it's like more of a cure. Would you say?
I don't know if you can ever cure trauma, because no matter, unless you get a lobotomy, I think is the only effective way, or what do they call it, chemical castration. But it's just something that'll never go away, and over time, it doesn't get easier. You harden yourself up, and you get more and more used to it. Some guys, they give up. They don't want to get used to it. They're done dealing with it, and so we're just finding ways for ourselves to push past that, to wake up in the morning and find the beautiful things again to keep.
And I think that's what ayahuasca, for me, that's what it was. It was, hey, we can look past this now. Let's look past this. Let's forgive yourself, forgive everything involved. Realize the energy that you are, and let's move past this.
And it totally opens up doors to bigger rooms of reality. You'll think of things and realize things that you would never fathom before.
Which goes into further healing, much further healing. I mean, I'm still working on myself. I always will be. I think ayahuasca is more something that you should probably try to take as little as like 4 times a year, to really kind of get your head around things and I mean, that's me personally. That's for somebody dealing with severe PTSD and yeah. I mean, I definitely am having my calling again, and I'm eager to see if it's if I have the same experience. But it was a very positive experience that I did have.
I'm sure you both have had a lot of experience with veterans who stick to the normal pharmaceutical approach. Do you notice a big difference in their personalities and how they act when they switch to cannabis?
It depends, man, because there's guys that will stay on the pharmaceuticals and use cannabis,
right.
And that's a whole different monkey that you got to deal with. The big problem that I think is, there are some psychedelic or psychoactive drugs that the VA and pharmaceutical companies will issue you, but the opiates are the ones that are the big killer. Getting these guys hooked on the crap and they can't get off of it.
Too. Tramadol is another one that they give people. They're given fistfuls of tramadol because it's not a narcotic and they can get away with it. So I mean, and then the antidepressants. Come on, man. There's cannabis saved my life. Plant medicines saved my life. There's no way. I was in and out of hospitals. I was on pharmaceuticals for 18 years. When I went to the jungle for ayahuasca, I had liver disease and kidney disease and was dealing with other internal issues. After my dieta in Peru, and my ayahuasca ceremony, and all the other plant medicines, I'm thanking them all, not just ayahuasca. I came home and went and had my blood work all drawn again and everything tested, explained to my doctor what I did, and my levels were perfect. My kidneys, my livers, everything was perfect, and they were blown away. And I mean, even the doctor said, sign me up. So I mean, for me, I got to see science back up. I needed science to back this up, and it did. It it's affirmated. It's real for me.
You were both veterans. Did you serve at the same time, or were your service dates a little staggered?
Staggered.
Yeah, Barry got out. He got out just before 9/11. I went in because of 9/11. I enlisted in 2003, and yeah.
Completely different. Yeah, I mean, I got to see a lot of stateside stuff, and And on the Coast Guard, you have search and rescue, and the search and rescue got to be tough. And we had a couple incidents happen in both the units I was at, and I never thought they would mess with me, and then one day they did. One day it's not that they did. It opened doors for so many other issues I had. And 9/11 happened, and it was a whole nother, luckily I didn't have to go through that.
I was a rifleman in the Marine Corps, and Barry was one of the first people that really opened up my eyes to trauma outside of combat. People that had served, especially stateside. I couldn't really understand, like, hey, how does somebody in the Coast Guard have PTSD? And then he shared his story, and with the search and rescue, it really involved a lot of stuff that I couldn't even imagine as a grunt in the infantry that he went through, and it really helped me understand a lot and have a lot more respect for people who go through trauma, whether it be a woman who experiences combat or sexual trauma in the military. Everybody goes through it, and so we're just trying to heal our own, so eventually we can help heal everybody.
And say, look at the success I'm having, or at least look at the attempt. I'm not giving up. I'm not just giving up. I'm reaching for everything. This Western medicine did not work, and I had to go elsewhere to find it. And I'm having success. And then the cannabis is a huge part in that also. But you have to. I think us as humans, we just need to get back to nature. We need to get back to all plant medicines, through food, through ceremony, through therapy, whatever.
Is it like as soon as you're diagnosed with PTSD, does your doctor just immediately start prescribing dozens of different kinds of pills to you?
No, they didn't even want to. They didn't even want to tell me I had PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD didn't exist before 9/11. If you catch my drift, like as soon as I got back in 2005, yeah, they threw it on me, man, right away.
It was my outside because we had insurance also, so I knew I didn't want to put up with my issues I was having at the VA that I really don't want to talk about, but it was impossible to get the help I needed. So my wife had good insurance, and I sought after a outside doctor. I found one, and he helped me out, and he's been my doctor for umpteen years now, and he's from the beginning. He's like, Barry, you have PTSD. And I'm like, no, they say I'm bipolar. And it's like, no, dude, you have PTSD. Let's talk. Well, blah, blah, blah. Let's get into this. Let's beat this up. And yeah, I have PTSD. And they don't want to say that because PTSD, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out for myself, are there levels of PTSD? I think PTSD is fucking PTSD. Excuse my language.
Oh, you feel free to swear on here. Like you guys were saying, it's not just combat vets, like police, firefighters, correctional officers. It's sexual assault victims. It's everywhere, and yeah, I had a little bit of experience with it, and just a little taste, and it really opened my eyes to what you guys go through on a daily basis. And yeah, it's brutal that they're just forcing opiate pills, and 22 veterans on average kill themselves every single day, and that's not including opiate overdoses. And yeah. I've learned that from 22 Too Many, and it's an epidemic, and I can't believe there's not more alarms going off.
No, the distractions are out there. It's easy to be distracted. Nobody wants to hear the bad. They want all the hurrahs, and no one wants to deal with the bad. So you have to heal yourself. And this is how we do it, by talking about it, by us hearing your stories, by you hearing our stories, and then our successes. And the fact that we didn't just sit and take no for an answer. We went after alternative medicines. We went after... We found the people that could feed us the energy we needed to heal ourselves, whatever it took. and that's not easy. It's not easy.
And Dakota, you were how many times were you deployed?
I only deployed once. About a month after, or it was about 2 months after we came back from my deployment. I ended up having a hernia underneath my belly button, and they did a surgery on it that was done incorrectly. And so I went many months, missed some deployments, and was stuck in my local camp guard, doing like running posts and everything like that, making sure camp was on lockdown. And yeah, that was the last half of my contract.
You were part of Phantom Fury, you were telling me before?
Yeah. I served with 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, and we invaded the city of Fallujah in November of 2004.
Wow. And you say you've only done one tour, but a tour I know in America is upwards of 12 months.
Yeah, that's the Army. We did just a little bit over 6 months. The Marine Corps has a different setup and rotation than the Army. They do like upwards, 18 months, man. They send them over there forever.
But Marine Corps, is it because you're exposed to more that your tours are shorter, or what's the reason for that?
I'll be honest, brother. I don't really know. I don't pay attention to the bureaucrat stuff anymore. It was stuff that was way over my head logistically. I probably just because of our numbers. There's so few of us that they had to keep us constantly fresh and don't want to wear us out too much. But by the time I got out, there was guys going on their 4th deployments, and so they were pretty tired of it, man. As it was.
You guys were petitioning to get the laws changed in Michigan. What are the current laws? Is it medically legal there?
Yep. Yeah, we have medical marijuana. We do have PTSD as a qualifying condition among some other ones, but we're pushing for recreational. And there was a kind of a people's initiative, grassroots movement that came together and collected a bunch of signatures, and we were just part of that.
And you guys are part of the panel for High Times Cannabis Cup?
Yeah. Both me and Barry, we've spoken on some of the panels from out in like Las Vegas, Washington, California, right here in Michigan. And then, we just go travel around with other veterans, meet up with other people. And same thing kind of like with the Soldiers of the Vine. We meet up with these awesome people who think the same things we do and want to make the world a better place. And we kind of get together, talk about it, and go back home and spread the love.
And do you guys have any important dates coming up?
Yeah, at the sometime in September they have the Cannabis Cup in Rhode Island, and then they're having the Boston Freedom Rally right after that I'll be speaking at.
July 29th, screening.
And then July 29th, the screening down in Austin, Texas of the Soldiers of the Vine. We did the 2-part series down there through Nomad Cinema, and we actually documented our experience down there.
And Barry, you were mentioning that you're working on helping with cancer.
Yeah. I've been in the cannabis work as a caregiver since late 09, and I've helped a lot of people with cancer. I've helped a lot of people with, you name it, with addiction, GERD, you name it, arthritis. So, but we've had a lot of success, with RSO using cannabis concentrates to help people with cancer, help eradicate the cancer, and we've had success. So. We know it's working.
When someone is diagnosed with cancer, what do the cannabis products do to help them?
First off, I tell them to check their diet, and we work on their diet, and then at the same time we start them off on mild doses of cannabis oil, but we work it up quick and we get aggressive quick on the amount of cannabis oil, and we'll tell them to juice. We'll help them with that, but usually we assist them in oil, in the actual oil itself, and and how to take it, and the medicine, growing the medicine.
Is there
So,
a difference between compensation for medical cannabis between veterans and someone who uses it for cancer?
is there a difference?
Because I know veterans in America, you guys don't get compensated for your medical cannabis.
Man, I
No.
hope. No, we don't. We don't. No, not at all. There's yeah. It really depends on your caregiver. Depends on your caregiver. For me, I tell people it's if you can afford to donate something to keep this going, you're just helping the next guy also, and that's it. And as far as the vets I meet, I'll do what I gotta do to hold space for them, give them the proper meds they need, and spend time with them, leave them with a care package, and that's usually all on me. I don't really. It's not about. Yeah, it hasn't really been about compensation.
And what about people who have cancer? Do they get any I said compensation. I should have said reimbursement. Do they get any reimbursement for their medical cannabis? People with
Oh,
cancer?
no, not at all. Not at all. There's no insurance. There's nothing that helps. So it's basically, like I said, comes down to your caregiver, which is just a person, and their morality, and so I mean,
There's a lot of compassion down here being drowned out by greed as well. There's a lot of people who are in this game for the right reasons, and they make enough money to keep the lights on, put enough money away for their kids' school, but they also give away a lot of medicine. And then there's people that will overcharge for it and make a killing off of it and not really care about their fellow man. And that's part of treating my PTSD. Is the great General Mattis once said, it's you kind of experience a thing called post-traumatic growth, and where you have more respect for living things and your fellow man, and you want to be a part of something to make that even better.
right.
And it all plays its part. And Barry is instrumental in a lot. He takes care of a lot of people.
Well, it comes down to I found healing in it, and so I mean, I have patience. I get compensated, but then the people that really need my help, I give it all, and I find a lot of therapy in that for myself. So it's not, like I said, for me it hasn't been about the money. I still live in the same house, and I've been doing this for almost a decade, and it's. When I came home from Peru, I had a lot of problems, and we had to rebuild. And plus, I was working on myself after ayahuasca, because ayahuasca really, that's what's so great about it, is it really forces you to work on yourself. You have to work on yourself. It gives you, it lays the tools out for you to work on yourself. And I came home and I busted my chops and got things done, and now we're to the point where we're able to really help people. And for whatever legal reasons here in Michigan, I don't want to go too deep into how we help people, but we make everything available to help people.
Do you guys have like a ballpark estimate of what someone would spend, let's say, a month on the medical cannabis they need to treat themselves?
Depends on the person and what they're dealing with. I mean, somebody that's dealing with like a little bit of stomach issues that can get by with smoking a little bit or ingesting a little bit of oil first thing in the morning, versus the person that has severe PTSD that will smoke a quarter ounce a day or use a half a gram of concentrates or more a day. So I mean, at that rate, you're talking, at least an ounce a week for some people, and some people much greater. And so at even low cost of medicine, there's no insurance, so it adds up to probably several $100s, a couple to several $100s a month.
On top of all your regular bills?
Yeah, on top of everything else. I mean, the only thing you can hope for is to get into it with a good caregiver that'll say, hey, let's work together on creating good medicine, and everybody, everybody takes care of each other.
How do people get in contact with caregivers?
Craigslist. I mean, really, maybe your local dispensary might have a bulletin board up, but really, they've laid no avenue. We've had to create our own. So.
Yeah, usually it's like a friend knows a person who knows a person, and you gotta try to kind of gauge, if that person's trustworthy or not. And that's after you have to go through the doctor certification process, which can be kind of nerve-wracking if you got somebody who's just there, again, to make money and not really care for you. It's a legal fiasco down here, man. That down here in our country, man, people are too busy hating each other for the wrong reasons. And so we're mixed up in being distracted, like Barry said, and not paying attention to what's really important. And we're killing this planet more and more every day. And it's happening right in front of our faces, and people are oblivious to it, man. And
it's worse than oblivious. They just turned a blind eye. But yeah, like I said, I think I know cannabis saved my life. It opened the doors for me to find other healings and other holistic ways and other plants. And so I try to give back and do what I can to help.
What was for you, Dakota? What was the tipping point to switch from prescription medication to cannabis?
There was one point where I lost my mind, and I was gonna go kill a dude. But had the rifle in my hand, was walking out the door, and my dad stopped me, and took the gun away from me, and I made that decision that night to stop taking the medication because he told me to put things in perspective, and that was the first time I had been told that in a long time, and so I did, and I realized that the way I was acting is not how I would normally act before all of my trauma went down. And so I stopped taking the medication right away, and that very next day I smoked a joint and found out that it worked. And you'll hear a lot of veterans say, the first time they tried cannabis is they were able to laugh for the first time, smile, feel good, be happy, not be so paranoid, and eventually get a good night's sleep. And that happened, a couple years back. And ever since then, I've been trying to figure out ways how to help people kind of fight through the things the way I did, and hopefully find light at the end of the tunnel.
Hold out.
Do you guys have any other methods, like besides cannabis or plant medicines, like to help deal with PTSD symptoms?
It's the thing that I found that's working for me is keeping in contact with the guys I served with, maintaining relationships with them, or even building them, and then finding other veterans in your area and getting together with them and being able to talk with them and hang out with them. It really kind of helps transition yourself back into the civilian world because you got guys that have experience and they're able to help guide you as you make that transition from the military life to civilian life. And it's going to be hard no matter what. Every veteran goes through it. Some guys jump back into it. They they become first responders, so they go from one high stress job to another one, and they're able to maintain. And they keep kicking ass throughout the day. And some people reach out for help at the VA and they fall through the cracks. Some people get help. It works for some people. And then there's people that just drift and wander. Some that become homeless, and some end up killing themselves.
When you say some end up killing themselves, from the research I've seen and people I've talked to, it's upwards of 20 a day. That's it's like 140 people a week.
From what I understand, is that number comes from only half of the states down here are reporting it, and so some people believe that the real statistic is like 40 or 50, and it's only because of this last war that we've been fighting for over a decade. That we've been really paying attention to it. Nobody really knows how many Vietnam veterans or how many World War II veterans committed suicide afterwards. And the Native Americans, not only here, but down in South America, man, when the white people came and slaughtered them, they also destroyed the knowledge of this plant medicine, man. The natives, the warriors, would go to battle, and they would do the same atrocious things that we did, see the same things we did, and then they would come back and they would have healing ceremonies. Up here in the States, they had, well, I should say for you down here in the States, they had peyote ceremonies, and then down in South America, they had ayahuasca ceremonies. And so all of that was lost when we destroyed it hundreds of years ago. And we're trying to bring that back.
I didn't know it was only half the states reporting numbers.
That's what I was told. That's just the rumor going around. Man, it seems like it, man. There's like not a week goes by I don't hear of somebody I knew or somebody that somebody knew taking their own lives.
Yeah.
And to me, it almost seems like it's increasing, man, especially due with the opiates.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. I was stunned when I heard that for the first time it was 22 a day, but I thought that was for the entire state. So that's it's a new piece of information that's quite emotional.
Well, they don't count a lot of things. They don't. I mean, if someone is trying to make sure their family's getting their money, because of suicide, it's not going to pay. So if somebody, they're not counting the people that accidentally drove off a bridge and there was no skid marks. They're not, they're not counting. I don't think they're counting like drug overdoses. I think the number would have to be. And if you had states that really cared and gave their numbers, which everybody's trying to hide it, so I'm sure the number's much more into the 40s and 50s, if not 60.
How many men and women were deployed during the war?
I'm not sure the exact number at that time. I think the numbers of the Marine Corps at that time was 215,000. And when we invaded Fallujah, between us and I think the British got in on it, and some Iraqi units, it was like 13,500. Went and stomped the guts out of 5,000 insurgents.
Those are some big numbers.
Yeah, we didn't fuck around, man. It was. I got to witness. There was so much beauty in the death of it, destruction of it all. If that makes sense, man. I'm still in awe of the things I got to witness. Not necessarily negative either. Like guys doing heroic stuff, man. And it's really an honor to be able to serve with people. And a lot of those guys, they get out and they become police officers too, man. And so that's a real big issue down here in the United States, is the relationship between the police and the citizens. So it's really been really cool to maintain a relationship with the guys that I served with that are police officers, to better understand each other and bring stuff to the table with the people here back home to help better understand each other and figure out a way to not kill each other anymore. And so yeah, it's all leads into different circles. It's all part of the big circle,
Does having PTSD or being diagnosed with PTSD affect someone from becoming a police officer?
I think so.
It can depends on how the severity of it, but a lot of guys go undiagnosed, and a lot of guys go right from the military.
There's a lot of police officers walking the street dealing with severe PTSD, and that's why you're having so many people. And that's why we have so many deaths at the hands of police officers in the United States compared to any other country. Is because we're, no one's treating these officers that are walking. You don't know how many times they've had domestic calls in a day. That's going to play on them. Walking into someone's home that isn't well kept, and they have children, and you pray for the children, but they have limited laws. Also, there's a lot of red tape there. So what can the police officers do? Really nothing. And so that stress starts to build up and build up. Then eventually they get a chip on their shoulder, and and I'm not saying I see it in their eyes, or I agree with anything. I don't. But PTSD is what we're talking about, and
the struggle and the stress that they go through.
And there's no real medicine, because what are you going to put them on Wellbutrin and have them go ape shit?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do that. You're going to put them on lithium and and they have physical pain, so you're going to put them on opiates, and now you've got cops walking around with opiate addictions, and and except they're still employed and they have insurance and have a paycheck and can get away with things, and are getting away with things. And the underlying thing that's not getting checked is PTSD. They're not being forced to because when you go through shit and you're still doing the shit, you don't want to deal with the shit. It's when you're all done doing the shit that you have to deal with it. Does that make any sense?
No, I'm sure a lot of them are also worried about, getting diagnosed with PTSD because they're afraid it might affect their employment.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but we can't hide from it anymore because it's really,
it's definitely kind of looked down upon in the military. So it depends on who your command is. Really, it's definitely looked down upon. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, and so you go from a military mindset to a job where you kind of still utilize a military mindset. And for me, it was when I was over there in Iraq, there was a lot of things that I did that I thought was right that were in actuality wrong. And so if you still have that mindset of what I'm doing is right, then it's hard to break through that, especially when your job is to enforce the law. That's their job. And a lot of people are mad at them and not mad at the politicians who make the laws. That's the big thing right there. The police are not the ones who make the laws. And so we're pointing fingers at each other when we should be pointing fingers at the right people together. And that's, the big message that I try to portray nowadays, because it'll break my heart if I turn on the news tomorrow and find out one of my brothers from the Marine Corps was shot and killed by some asshole, whatever state they serve.
When you were deployed, Dakota, were you there when it was primarily guerrilla warfare?
Oh yeah, we battled some insurgents, man. I don't want to make them sound like morons. They were a very determined enemy, but they fought. They'd hit us and run away. I can't really say cowards, even though I want to say it. But there was a few of them that did stand up and slugged it out with us and fought us to the death, man. But yeah, dude, we got my deployment. Something blew up every day. At least once or twice.
Were you part of a mounted division, or were you primarily just kicking in doors?
Yeah, I was a grunt with India Company 2nd Platoon of 3rd Battalion 1st Marines. And that's what we rode in. We rode in through the desert on amphibious assault vehicles, and we dropped the ramp, and then we just scattered throughout the city and swarmed them like bees and destroyed them. Yeah.
Must have been very hard to determine who's the enemy and who's just a civilian.
Well, we dropped a lot of leaflets on the city prior saying, hey, we're coming through sometime in the next few months. If you're found here when we do, you're going to be considered an enemy combatant and you will be arrested. And so that's what happened. I mean, I forget the number of prisoners, but there was somewhat like a couple hundred or 1,000 prisoners, whatever. But a lot of people that were there stayed to fight. And towards the end of it all, that's where we ran into the diehard fighters.
I heard a story about after World War II, they found this Japanese soldier on a island years after the war had been over, like someone of 20 years, and he hadn't gotten any news about it, and he was still in his defensive position holding it down. So I'm sure there was people like that over there that just wanted to hold every inch of their ground they could.
Oh, dude, yeah. That was their mission, to kill as many Americans as possible, man. We fought guys from Jordan. There was some dudes from Chechnya, all over, man. Palestine. They came in droves from everywhere to fight us. They didn't stand a chance, though. So
amazing that people flew in just to fight you guys.
Yeah, man, they flew in for the party, man. Didn't expect the results that they got, and that's just the way it is. It's
Well, if you had anybody come into your home, that's what you would do too. You're gonna push. You're gonna hold off as long as you can. It'd be hard.
I totally understand why they're fighting us without sympathizing with them, man. It's just, you know, if you look here in the United States, one police officer dies, every police officer in the country mourns for that officer and is pissed off at the person who did it. So you get something happens and you get people that have a common cause and they just come together more and more and more. So by dropping bombs, we're only creating more terrorists and more people to fight us.
Yeah.
And
the goal is to go after why are we really there. Let's stop going there. Let's stay out of there. Let's not give a reason. You know, I don't know, but
I heard a stat that from all the drone attacks during the Obama presidency, that of course accidental, but 84% of the people killed were civilians. So I get what you're saying about their family members, their friends being upset that they were killed and joining the cause.
Well, that's why I joined our cause, man.
Yeah,
because they hit our buildings with damn airplanes, and so it's this, you know, vicious cycle.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's gonna end anytime soon.
I hope it does, man. We've been fighting this war for way too long, you know, and it's I got to meet some you know, some Canadian brothers up there. I don't know if you know of Fabian Henry there for Marijuana for Trauma, man, but it's been really cool to kind of combine forces and talk with guys over our borders, man, kind of get an understanding of what's going on in the world and how war is affecting people, not only on the battlefield, but off the battlefield.
I had an amazing podcast with Fabian, and it's him and I both agree it's very upsetting that up here in Canada, veterans, they get reimbursement they were getting for 10 grams a day. Now it's 3 grams a day.
Yeah.
And then we look to the south where there's a lot more veterans and a lot less help given to you guys on that front.
Yeah, my wife and family and I, we all got our passports. We're at the point where we're ready to jump ship. I mean, all these politicians are just doing whatever they want. Nobody's looking inwards. Everybody's looking at what they're pointing at, what they so-called are pointing at, instead of looking inward on the people pulling these buttons, pulling these switches and making these calls, and it's just ridiculous. We need to look inward. There's nobody's held to any justice when they do anything, and not politically here. I mean, we live in a state that has the most water around it, yet we also have some of the most polluted water, and that's bad, and nobody wants to do anything about it. You know, no politician wants to step up and say, let's fix the problem. You know, and our politicians are not being held to any standard. They're running amok, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Do you guys work with other organizations besides, you mentioned you've spoken with Fabian from Marijuana for Trauma?
Oh yeah, man. We it's just been a wild ride, man. Like we work with the Cannabis Cup, High Times and whatnot. We met a lot of people, like from the Weed for Warriors. There's some great folks up in over in New England with the New England Veterans Alliance. There's a few, man. There's Happy 420 Farms, I think it is called, and then the PTSD Farm for Vets down in Kentucky. There's a lot of really great veteran activists. They focus mainly on cannabis. There hasn't been too many of us that have went beyond that to really, you know, stand up and speak about like the psychedelic side of and the plant medicine treatments of PTSD therapy.
Well, the cannabis is the platform to be able to talk about many things, and it's the gateway to healing. It's the gateway to sitting and holding space with each other and talking about things and saying, you know, this is what I'm thinking. Oh yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Oh wow, mass consciousness. Let's talk about this. You know, and then next thing you know, you're on a plane going down to Peru. So, I mean, there's a lot of good vets here, but there's not a lot of support for the vets, and there's still a lot of, you know, blinders on. Here's, you know, we hide things behind patriotism, and nobody wants to question anything or hold these politicians to any standards. So the country is being ran amok, and we're all trying to heal ourselves and find help. And the only help we can find is within each other and the drive. We might not all agree with everything with each other, but we help each other, and we know cannabis will keep that safety bar at the cliff's edge, you know. And it's easy to get stoned and maybe shed a tear and call your buddy rather than, you know, do the unspeakable.
Are doctors pretty hesitant to prescribe medical cannabis in Michigan?
They don't.
VA doctors, yeah. Some, like people that work for the bigger hospitals and the bigger name corporations, I call them, they will not do it. So you got to find somebody who's willing to step outside of that box.
And put their medical license on.
Put their medical license on risk.
And then they have to put you through so much red tape, but you can't blame them there because they have everybody going after them saying, why are you giving out these licenses? It was something that was supposed to be swept under the rug, and nobody was supposed to give anybody any recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are with what is it?
Like 208,000.
Yeah, 200,000 registered, you know, users. So, and that's we know that's just a fraction of all the people that don't want to put their name in a registry. So it's just ridiculous. It's a freaking plant, you know. Let's get back to holding space for each other and having rituals as human beings and ceremonies and teaching our people, you know, our knowledge, our wisdom. I don't know, man.
It's been a blessing, though, you know, being in the medical state for so long, because we have unlocked so much knowledge from this simple plant that is cannabis, man. And you go to some other states who have been in the dark still and like really enforce on it. It's amazing what they don't know and what they think of cannabis. And like a lot of people don't even know it has medicinal value still. They just think it's something to get people high. And so, yeah, it's like Barry was saying, it's just turmoil down here, and people don't want to break that stigma because they're too worried about like how big Kim Kardashian's ass is getting or what Donald Trump is fucking up right now.
Yeah, it's anything. I mean, Donald Trump's a joke. It's nothing but a distraction. He's no shot caller. He's not doing anything but distracting.
It's like I have nothing against Republicans or the Republican Party, but like I can't believe the things that this guy's getting away with here, and I just. You know, I wish I could just sit down and smoke a joint with him and figure things out. And if he's one of those guys that get paranoid from smoking a joint, there's a strain of cannabis to help with that. And so we'll figure it out, man. You know, and then my goal is to make the world green again. Like some brothers over in India, they're planting forests over there by the millions of trees at a time, man. And it's just such a beautiful story. And so if we're able just to go around every continent planting hemp, you know.
Hey man, start with your own 20 acres first.
Don't make America great, make the world great, you know?
Yeah, that's another goal of this podcast is to reach veterans from all over the world. So that's something that Namaste wants to do, and we're working towards it. How long has medical cannabis been legal in Michigan?
Since 2008.
2008?
Yeah, but the state has been really restrictive on it, and it was like when 2008 rolled around and it was voted in, you know, everybody's like, hallelujah, and all the cops didn't know what to do or how to enforce the law, so it was just kind of, it was like I don't want to say a party, but like a lot of people came out of the closet around that time, but then the state just hammered down and you gotta lock up your thing in a lockbox and put it in your trunk.
They made all kinds of rules.
Like legal patients, caregivers were getting their doors kicked in and their houses raided. They were getting their shit stolen.
Kids taken away.
Kids were being taken away, put in foster care, and these were people that were not breaking the law at all.
At all.
And we have laws down here in the United States that you don't even have to be charged of a crime for police to come in and seize your assets and keep them.
Not in Michigan. Michigan has the worst forfeiture laws in the United States. So.
Yeah, dude, and it's the laws that allow this to happen. And again, those police officers think they're doing the right thing by enforcing these laws. In fact, they're destroying lives. And so, you know, if it's a law that is hurting people and making lives miserable, then it is an unjust law, and it deserves to be resisted and fought, but in the right ways. You know, we got to go after the legislators on the grounds of where they pass laws, and we got to do ballot proposals down here, which is crap.
Our
Because
media is too busy telling the people that protesting is wrong and it's going to be illegal. They're spreading so much false information, scaring people away, and turning the positive protesters into like the bad guy. And it's like we're nothing but the muscle that's exercising to keep our strength. And you're wanting to piss our fucking freedoms away, and that's what we deal with down here with our civilian, like trying to get civilians, and even other vets that just came in and plugged right in and fell right into nationalism and don't want to question fucking anything.
Or is Michigan moving towards recreational? I know you guys were saying you're working on that.
well, we were. What it ended up happening was they made a law, a stipulation in the Constitution or whatever, that instead of having 4 years to get signatures for a ballot proposal, you only have 180 days. In our case, we had to collect 253,000 signatures in 6 months, and so we went past that allotted time and ended up getting like 300 some odd thousand signatures, and they still wouldn't recognize it and let it be on the 2016 election ballot. And so MPP came in just like they did everywhere else and kind of formed a group with some of the like-minded people here in Michigan, and they're going to regulate cannabis like alcohol, and that's going to be okay for a while, but
It'll be okay for people that can't get it,
and
that are just looking to get it. And
it's just going to turn into like everything else, It's going to charge an arm and a leg.
Right. They're taking it out of the hands of the people that are like being real positive. They're taking it out of the people's hands. They're putting it right in the big corporations' hands. The board that they have just to be able to get a license to grow commercially here in here in Michigan is ridiculous. It's all anti-cannabis people. So yeah, they're really making it impossible. And then they're slowly trying to do away with the caregivers program here in Michigan also, which will rely on the recreational, which will basically do away with the medical program altogether. And it'll just be recreational. That way the pharmaceutical companies don't have to say, look, plant medicine works. We can sweep it. It's its own way of sweeping it back under the rug as medicine.
Well, Dakota and Barry, this has been great having you guys on. Is there anything else you guys like to talk about before we get out of here?
There's everything's I think like a Google search away, or it's all on Facebook, man. If you're out there and you're hurting, you can Google how to get help as a veteran. You don't necessarily have to call the crisis lines because they don't work for everybody. And if they don't work for you, don't give up, man. Just keep searching. You're gonna eventually find something that's gonna help you. And we're always here. It's like you can reach out to me and get a hold of me personally on the Facebook, or even Barry, whoever, man. And if we can't help you, we're gonna get in touch with somebody who can help you. And and I always urge people to continue to pay it forward, man. It's like if you're getting help, man, help other people. Be that catalyst for each other, man. That's how I've met great people, man. You should check out Mike Whiter from Operation Overmed, and then Chris Mueller. He's doing that body bag thing, man. All across the country. It's just there's a lot of great veteran activists out there. Females, if you need a good role model of how to come out of your traumatic shell from the military service, look up Sarah Serna she's out of the New England Veteran Association. She helps him out too, man. She's really kicking ass up there, man. She's a real strong girl, and there's always somebody that's willing to help. You just got to keep searching, keep up the fight, man, and don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up. Start questioning what you're putting in your body. There's a lot of things in our foods that trigger our chemical imbalances. So healthy living.
All right, guys. Well, it's been great having you on, and I'd love to have you back on and follow your progress as you help more people and as laws change. Thanks again for telling your stories, and amazing stories, guys. Like, tip my hat to you guys for what you've been through, and like I said, look forward to having you on again.
I appreciate you
thank
for
you,
having
man.
us, man.
Thank
Hell yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been the Vapes4Vets podcast. Dakota, Serna, and Barry Richardson, thanks for coming on. And until next time, guys, take care.
Rock and roll.